4-3. We're all busy. So let people join.
Okay. So, welcome, Vikram. It's a pleasure to have you as a speaker in our Dream Dare Do webinar series. Let me let me quickly introduce you to the audience. Vikram Gupta is the founder and managing partner of IvyCap Ventures, one of India's largest homegrown investment funds. In plain terms, when someone has an idea for a new company, Vikram and his team decide whether to back it, and if they do, they help it grow with money, advice, and relevant connections. Over the years, he's backed more than 50 companies, including a few you probably heard of: Bluestone Jewelry, Purple, Beauty Commerce, and Miko, the robo companion for kids. He's a graduate of IIT Delhi and did his MBA in the US. But here's the part that connects him directly and why he's with us today. Vikram has used part of Ivy's own profits to start endowment funds at IIT Delhi and other top institutes. He's literally put his money behind the belief that access to good education changes what's possible for someone. Exactly the kind of belief the Vidya School is founded on. Please join me in welcoming Vikram.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So,
Appreciate it.
Vikram, since we are here with school students, I thought we can start here and maybe you can talk about what was your school life like and what did it prepare you for and what did it not prepare you for what was to follow.
For me, school life was divided into different places. My first grade to sixth grade was actually in Punjab, and I was not even in an English medium school. I was actually in a Punjabi medium school. So I started learning my English only when I was in seventh grade. And in seventh, I moved to Delhi, and I studied in Cambridge School from 7th to 12th. So that's been the journey for me. And then, of course, after that, I studied for engineering and cleared the JE exam, and then studied at IIT Delhi, did my chemical engineering. So that's the background I have.
Okay, would you say having to switch from Hindi medium to English medium, I'm guessing in middle school, with the pressures of academic pressures along with catching up on English, obviously it sounds very hard, but do you think it was may have been a blessing in disguise, gave you like this superpower to deal with stress and do multiple things at the same time?
Initially, it does come as a cultural shock, when you're trying to change things, and of course, you're trying to settle into a system where people are talking a different language. A similar cultural shock I felt when I left for the US, and that was the first time ever I traveled abroad, the first time ever I took a flight out of India. So, obviously, when you come out of your comfort zone and go into a new zone, it's always very challenging. But you're right. If inside you, if you have a determination to make things, do things, and perform, and if you internally you feel strong, then you can pick up anything and you can pick up any challenge. And I've been very fortunate to be amongst the right set of people, right set of mentors. So that all that helps you in really carrying along and facing all the challenges.
That's great to hear, and um, I think some of our students also face that because when they join the school in sixth and seventh, a lot of them may not be comfortable with English, so they are catching up those skills as they get into the CBSE English curriculum. Um, so can you talk a little bit about your experience in IIT Delhi versus in the US? Would you contrast the kind of things you would learn? I mean, just different cultures, different way of working.
Yeah, again, even IIT Delhi was a little bit of cultural shock for me because I think one thing that happens, in fact, I taught my school in 12th. So you do feel that you are among the toppers, but when you join an elite set of people in an IIT, almost everybody around you is a is a topper from their own schools.
Exactly.
You are now competing with a very bright set of people. So that was not easy to kind of again settle down in that system. So it was hard, but I would say that the IIT Delhi system has actually been very good. The overall environment is very good, very entrepreneurial. That's the reason you will see a lot of entrepreneurs coming from that ecosystem. And I think the overall systems processes at IIT Delhi also, at least in our times, very different. Um, I still remember when I got results of my first exam in applied mechanics. Usually, IIT system was more of a relative scoring model. So it was the first test ever I got the response to, and it was a 40-mark exam. When I saw my answer sheet, I got 3 out of 40. And I was actually very, very shocked to see my results. And I immediately took my answer sheet and hid it under my desk, hoping that nobody saw it. But when then the professor started writing the results on the blackboard, he said the highest marks was 8 out of 40. And there were 8 zeros in the class, and the average was 2 out of 40. So that was basically, a very different kind of an exposure and experience that, all of a sudden I felt very good that I was above average in the class. So, these kinds of things when you experience in a system like that, kind of gives you a very different kind of exposure. It level sets your own expectations, and you start looking at, things very differently. So I think obviously when you start grounding yourself and you think that you are at a level where you need to do a continuous learning. So I think all that has taught me a lot.
That's very interesting. Actually, it brings up this point that I see in my classes. I run this coding club, after school coding club at Vidya. Um, so this thing comes up where there's people are competitive, but they also have to be collaborative at the same time. So obviously you'll be judged on your marks, but you can't do it alone. So would you like to maybe talk about the importance of collaboration as much as, as much as we live in a competitive world, the importance of, being able to collaborate, working with others?
Yeah, unfortunately, at least in our times, at least in our school days and even in our undergrad days, we were not taught much of teamwork. I learned most of my teamwork lessons in my postgraduate days. And I think, especially in the US system, I think they put a lot of focus on teamwork. So there are lots of projects which are given to you that you have to work on teamwork. And I think these days, I'm noticing in school days as well and in colleges as well, there is a lot of focus on working in teams. And I think that has become very fundamental now. In fact, I was just looking at some report yesterday which said that 65% of the startups fail because the startups and the co-founders are not able to collaborate properly, not able to work with each other. And that's a pretty substantial reason for failure, which means that something which needs to be taught at very grassroots levels and people need to work very collaboratively. So something which I tell kids these days is that you have to learn how to work together with the teams. And majority of the times, I think the fundamental things people need to learn is more about your strengths and your weaknesses. Many times we focus on our strengths, but we forget that we also have weaknesses, and there are people around you who are stronger in areas that you may not be strong in. But together, when you work with them, your mutual strengths come together, and that's when a collaborative approach can actually produce magical outcomes. So the startups which you've seen have done very well. One of the basic things that you would see in them, the basic ingredients, is that the teams would have worked very collaboratively, leverage each other's strengths, and also help each other improve their weaknesses. So I think those things are now playing a big role, and people are seeing these things very visibly. So something which I've learned over time.
Right. Thanks. You mentioned US, moving to US was again a cultural shock, and actually, I couldn't really tell whether you worked in the US after your MBA, but what kind of skills and different traits did you pick up in the US, and how were they relevant? How did they help you in your future professional career?
So I worked in the US for about 4.5 years after my MBA, and that was with the IBM Consulting. And what I realized, again, coming from the India background, you do have a disadvantage in terms of how you communicate with your peers, with your seniors, and with your colleagues in general. Uh, so one of the biggest things that you learn is good communication. So I would say that that was one of the fundamental things I learned. At times, the cultures that we come from, we assume a lot that we said something, and then we assume that the other person understood things, even the things which we have not said, and we don't realize that unless we said those things, they are not communicated properly. So, and communication can actually be one of the biggest barriers in any individual's growth in their careers. So I think that's one of the things which was one of the fundamental learnings for me. So I believe that it helped a lot. And then, of course, the other thing is always, it's a very competitive world out there. So you have to make sure that you're always on the go, and making sure that you're taking your assignments with a proper kind of mindset, and with an objective to accomplish your goals. So some of those things I learned while I was in the US, and it was also rewarded very well. If you work hard, you get rewarded. It's wherever you are, if you're contributing your best, you always get rewarded, and you move up the career ladder. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I think it's often seen that once people do an MBA, they're in high-paying jobs and successful, doing very well professionally. They tend to become a little risk-averse. But you've already obviously proved it wrong. So how was your transition and your decision making into the entrepreneurial world, given that you were doing really well as created a fund and managing the fund?
Yeah, I think I've realized that entrepreneurship does come very naturally to quite a few people, and when you feel that you're ready to take risk in life, because I think a lot depends on your risk-taking abilities. And these days, one good thing is that there's a lot more support available to people who are willing to take risk. And I have noticed that people out of college, and now even out of schools, are actually willing to just go ahead with an idea that they believe in. And I've realized that there is this initial fear of starting up, but once you start up, and you start really working towards solving a problem, the world suddenly looks very different, because the kind of support that you get on the other side is actually very different. You get support not only from the potential investors or advisors, but you also get a lot of support from people who are trying to solve the similar problem that you're trying to solve. And all of a sudden, you realize that if you are very passionate about doing what you're doing, then it's a matter of just executing it well and getting the right people around you. So that's exactly what has happened. And of course, success and failure is a part of the game, and even if you don't succeed in the near term, if you don't accept it as a failure and continue to work on it, eventually you will succeed. And that's exactly what has happened, with the fund business, which is not that easy to do because you're actually constantly raising funds and you're constantly delivering and constantly showing results in a high risk environment. So it's not an easy game. So I would say that it's been an interesting journey, but very rewarding. This journey has been very, very rewarding.
Of course. Now, I want to move our focus a little bit on education. So, in 2019, you conceptualized and established India's first endowment fund at IIT Delhi. Um, and this must have been a huge milestone for you, I'm thinking. Can you please elaborate on your motivation to do this? And how do you think about enabling education access in India?
So when I set up IvyCap in 2011, one of the things which I realized, in fact, the whole concept which I was building was around the fact that, honestly, I didn't have much capital. And I asked this question to myself, what is the asset that I have created for myself? And I realized the biggest asset I had with me was my education from my alma mater. And that's what I kind of realized, that I owe a lot to what the system has given me. And if an IIT could give me good education, then the question I asked to myself was, what have I given back to IIT? So, with that question, I started working on this concept of this fund, where I said that, okay, whatever profits I'll make, part of those profits I will give back to my alma mater. And I'll put a structure to it through a proper endowment model. And having seen the endowments across the US, very large structures, I thought that it's the best to really build a formalized structure in IIT, knowing that India's education system didn't have any endowments. So between 2011 and 2019, took almost 8 years before I helped set up India's first endowment fund at IIT Delhi. Of course, it took some time between 2017 and 19. It was the last 2 years when I worked really hard to get it off the ground. But once it got off the ground, of course, everybody understood the whole concept and people started coming along together. And I got a lot of support from the alumni, from the IIT ecosystem itself. And finally, it was launched by the Honorable President at Rashtrapati Bhavan. And I think a lot of alumni got connected to it because everybody had an emotion.
Mahila, can you mute? Yeah, sorry. Please go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, so I think now we are working with other IITs, other educational institutions to set up their endowments. Now that the concept is established, I feel very good that people have now understood the whole concept.
Shabrin, can you please mute yourself? Okay, thanks for getting into that. So let's moving a little bit into entrepreneurship now. I'm sure you met like hundreds of successful founders and professionals. Can you highlight some of the traits that nothing determines success, but improves the chances of a successful founder?
The basic ingredients are more towards a passion driving you towards solving a problem. I've seen that people who are really passionate about solving a problem, eventually figure it out how to solve that problem. So that's the most fundamental characteristics of an entrepreneur. Then comes, the exactly what you asked earlier, a very collaborative mindset. You're out there to solve a problem, but you can't solve it alone. You have to take support from a team. You have to form the right team. You have to form the right set of people around you, and it can be your co-founders. You also need to get the right advisors on board in the beginning. You also need to bring in the right set of people who may be willing to put in capital with you, and then of course over a period of time, once you start adding customers, then your customers need to believe in you as well, because eventually you need to be honest to what you're doing, and if you're giving them the product that they're looking for or the service they're looking for, then they will make sure that you are successful. So eventually it's a lot about being passionate, and also because you go through lots of ups and downs in the entrepreneurial journey. There are times when things go very bad, and you have to address those problems. That time you feel very lonely. If you're passionate about solving the problem, then you would have either already thought through what kind of problems you will face and what can go wrong, and therefore, when the actual problems come, you're not deterred by it. You actually are ready to face those challenges. So those are the people who will last longer and will continue to work in achieving their objectives. So these are some of the basic characteristics of entrepreneurs.
Thank you. So now more, in context to the Vidya School, the alum, I think there can be a lot of excitement around starting a company and becoming an entrepreneur. What would your advice be for someone in that boat between playing it safe and risk-taking path, taking a safe versus a risk-taking path, especially in the early years, and how should they think about it?
I think while, of course, school is still a very young age to work on startups or solving problems which are fairly large in size, because by that time you still haven't gained much experience in life. But I've seen people, some of the very successful entrepreneurs actually started very early. We've seen examples of Zepto, we've seen example of Oyo.
Yes.
These people, the founders started very early when they were actually in their school days. So if you have, passion for a particular area, I think what you need to do is actually make sure that you take that extra step to work on it, and seek help as much as you can. 'Cause uh, one of the challenges which I've seen with people is that they are usually shy. They will not easily ask for help, and that shyness sometimes it becomes a gap between your success and failure. So you need to come out of your shyness and seek help from people around you. And if you go out, seek for help, the help will always be available. So I think I met quite a few students at Vidya, school in Gurgaon, and I was very impressed with the passion the kids have, and the kind of startups they're working on, and how they are actually willing to really go beyond. So I think it's just a matter of showing their real passion, and working towards taking the next step and actually implementing on working on the solutions that they might be thinking already.
Okay. Um, at this point, I want to check if we have any questions from the audience. Mahala, do we have any?
No, sir, exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, we didn't get yet.
Okay. Um, Actually, Vikram, I had one last question, but before that, if you'd like to share some views with the audience, please go ahead.
No, I think, I'm, first of all, I'm very impressed with the way the Vidya's value system has built over time, and I would like to congratulate the entire management and the students and the entire community, the teaching community, etc. I think the ethos, the overall value system has evolved in a very different way, very constructive, very forward-looking, and usually doesn't come that easily. And I think part of it also comes from the fact that the students also bring with them their own cultural backgrounds and their own fighter spirits, which is very impressive. And I think I've also seen quite a few corporates and people like myself wanting to collaborate and see how best we can create value together.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. That's great to hear. So in closing, I thought I'll just share this. A lot of students here will go out into the professional world without the connections some others start with. So what would you like to say to, and I want to frame it like this, how does someone make their own luck? I think you addressed it in some ways, but just with some closing remarks.
Of course, few things that I would recommend to students. I think go beyond your regular curriculum and read a lot, especially the life lessons that will give you ideas of how to really address different kinds of challenges. And then there is this power of compounding. Keep doing little every day towards making a meaningful difference, and you will realize that things substantially happen over a period of time. I also believe that eventually it's not just about working in silos or working in small teams. I think you have to start building a network, and these days with the technology widely available, you have to really start leveraging tools like LinkedIn, which are professional platforms. Make sure you start connecting with people, look for advice, ask for support. And then, of course, there is a very good alumni base of Vidya School itself. People who are doing very well in their careers, they will be the first people to support you when you're trying to do something different. So, yeah, I think don't be shy asking for help, and try to network as much as possible, and ask as many questions as you can.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Mehala, is there anything else from you?
Sir, I have sent two questions to you on WhatsApp.
Okay. All right. We have two more questions, Vikram. Many medical devices rely heavily on embedded systems and specialized sensors. From an investor's perspective, what major gaps exist in medical electronic hardware that engineering students should look into solving? This is from Pallavi Kumari, and she is pursuing her electronics engineering from Bangalore.
That's a very, very good question. These days we are seeing very interesting evolution of technologies, especially in the healthcare space. And the lot of IoT devices and a lot of new sensors, whether it's sensors or camera technologies or new camera vision technologies and new chips, new semiconductors, which are coming up. And more and more technologies are trying to look at non-invasive diagnostics and also non-invasive procedures. So anything which can support in uh, getting a patient's diagnosis. Now, for example, you might have heard of something called Whoop, and when you wear this Whoop, It's a non-invasive, like a wristwatch, or just put it on your wrist, and it tells you about your sleep patterns and about your stress levels and things like those. Technologies like these are now changing things quite drastically. Anything which is actually able to help people on their critical illness areas, or something which can also help people in the post operative procedures and able to manage their lifestyle much better. I think those technologies will actually really do very well. Of course, you will have to collaborate with other people. So I think if you have some ideas that you want to work on, that where you believe that you can build your own technology, if you collaborate with the medical device companies or pharma companies or even hardware companies who may be working in the medical space in general, they would love to partner with you, and it can even support your research. So, of course, you should think of taking this to the next level, maybe even doing it as a formal research through a research program. The multiple avenues that you can do. But it's great to hear that you're thinking in that direction in terms of solving problems, especially in the healthcare space through medical devices.
Thanks. I think the second question, your second part of your answer may have covered the second question, but I'll ask it anyway. How can college students validate a startup idea before investing significant time and money into building it?
Yeah, I think the typically the biggest validation happens when you are talking to your potential customers. So let's say if you have an idea where you are trying to launch it, and let's say it's a medical device company. If you know that this is going to be used by a hospital or by doctors, it's best to just identify a few doctors who may be using this technology. Just interview them, tell them that this is the idea you're thinking, this is how you're thinking, and they would have used some similar technologies in the past. So they may be able to give you their perspective on why they believe this technology may or may not work. In fact, they may give you a lot more ideas that you may not even have thought of, and which you can go back and rework on your whole idea and then come back to them. So I would say that number one, validation happens through the customers and the potential customers. Always do very focused group kind of interviews with potential customers, and people are always willing to talk. In the target customer segments, if you identify them properly, and if you ask the questions properly. So that is the best way to validate. And in addition, always think of a few experts, somebody who has invested in the space, somebody who has worked in the industry for a long time, or somebody who is done some research and is willing to give some support.
Okay, Vikram, we have one more question that trickled in. I'm in class 11 and my father drives an auto. Everyone at home wants me to take a job as soon as I finish. What would you say to someone whose family can't afford the risk of them starting something?
Yeah, I think this is one unique aspect of Vidya School which I've seen. The kids come from families where they have to work in areas where they have to make sure that they are able to afford their education and other things. I actually call that as a good opportunity for you rather than a challenge. When you come from those backgrounds, I would say you have much lesser to lose in terms of taking risk and trying to prove something. Uh, of course, there is always this challenge of trying to prove to your parents that you're trying to do something which can actually create much longer term value. But I think part of it will come from introducing your parents to also some advisors, and making sure they also understand the value of what you are trying to achieve. And I think there is a lot of support available, and there are a lot of impact oriented funds as well out there who want to support you when you come from the backgrounds where you can't support your education or invest your own capital. So you need to identify those investors as well. There are quite a few individual investors, a lot of social impact oriented funds that corporates are also investing. So there could be some corporates who may be very willing to support you. If they know that you're coming from such backgrounds, they may be willing to give you some support. And I think once you look for those support and you introduce your parents and your families also to those avenues, people start seeing the things from a very different lens and very different perspective.
Okay, great. Vikram, I think that's all the questions we have. Uh, just a second, there's something that trickled in. Uh, so thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, I think it's a very um, insightful inputs you gave. You can see a lot of the questions were around, should I start, should I do a job, and how to get into the real world and be successful. So I think very insightful, and thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think if there are any other questions at any time, just very happy to answer.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all. And we'll close the session now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.